Mercedes are still on the hunt for the first win in the season, a feature that, if you talked about just 1 year ago, you would have been seriously laughed at. Mercedes is a team that has dominated the sport throughout the turbo hybrid era, and it's not something that has surprised us throughout these years. However, the team found themselves in major problems in 2022, and their hunt for the first win is truly a bizarre thing to happen to 8-time consecutive Constructors' champions. But make no mistake, they haven't lost hope, albeit the deficit they have with the top two teams. They are bringing an upgrade to the next GP in Singapore, and according to Mike Elliott, it should boost their chances of finally standing on the highest spot on the podium. Want to find out more about what the package is? Stick around with us until the end of this video. Mercedes have started the season with an enormous speed deficit compared to Ferrari and Red Bull, and although they've managed to close the gap in the last couple of races, the team is still struggling when it comes to the speed of its engine. As Binotto said, Ferrari would rather have an unreliable but fast engine rather than a slow and reliable one. It seems like Mercedes has the latter one, and although they've struggled a lot to score decent points, they are very close to the P2 spot in both championships thanks to the consistency of the engine itself. The Brackley-based team seems to have built a bulletproof engine, as failures haven't been a thing for them throughout the whole season. True, Hamilton had to take a new engine in Zandvoort, but that was because his engine got damaged in Spa after the collision with Alonso, not because it had blown up on itself. The team had a decent finish at the Italian GP, with Hamilton climbing the ladder from P17 all the way to P5 and Russell completing yet another podium finish at P3. Assessing the good progress of the team, Mike Elliott said, "We've had some good races and we've had some not so good races, but I think what's really encouraging is the understanding that's coming from the simulation work that we're doing and the understanding that's coming from the wind tunnel. It's allowing us to work out why our performance is going up and down, what we need to get back into the fight right at the front, and what we need to do over the winter. I think they are the key things," said Elliott, who also spoke about the Mercedes' immediate goals. "We want to try and fight Ferrari for that P2 position. We want to try and win a race this season, or multiple races ideally. And most of all, we want to get ourselves back on track so we're fighting properly for a championship next year. That's not any disrespect to our position. We've got fantastic opposition, and that's what we really need to do. We want to be back there and we want to be challenging for championships, but that's what we're about," said Chauvelin. "It's evident that Mercedes is truly hungry for the first win in the season, and they were really close in Hungary as Russell claimed his first career pole position. However, he wasn't able to convert it, but he and Hamilton completed the podium with Verstappen leading the way, as races like Hungary and France have helped Mercedes in closing the gap ahead Ferrari. That is why the team is bringing an upgrade package in Singapore at the Marina Bay Street Circuit, hoping that they can relieve the amazing performance that they had in Hungaroring and in Zandvoort." Elliott spoke about this matter too, saying that the team's expectations in Singapore are very high as they are placing some truly large hopes in the engine upgrades, adding, "When you look back at the learning we've gathered over the season, I think we expect that Singapore will be a bit more like we've seen in Budapest or Zandvoort. It's a bumpy circuit which is going to provide its challenges, but in terms of the nature of the corners, we think it'll be a bit better for our car. As always, we'll do all the pre-simulation work we need to do, we'll maximize our learning in the practice sessions, and hopefully we can turn that into a good result at the weekend," finished Elliott. Mercedes' team boss Toto Wolff says, "It's all to play for as Mercedes is targeting the Marina Bay Street Circuit for scoring its first win of the season. They aren't too far away from the P2 spot in both championships, as Russell is trailing Leclerc by 16 points and Mercedes is trailing Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship by 35 points. Wolff spoke regarding the Monza GP, hinting that this isn't the maximum that Mercedes can do, even though Russell scored a podium finish. "I think you can see that we're on a track that doesn't suit us, and we are clearly third on the road, so positions 3 and 5 is probably the maximum results," said Wolff, who also spoke about Hamilton's impressive driving, adding, It was enjoyable. At the beginning, it looked like he was a little bit stuck, but once the tires came together, he was very quick. Wolff also spoke about the fight with Ferrari as he said, "I think it's all to play for. We just need to do the best every single weekend and see whether we come out second," said Wolff, who also spoke about whether P2 would soften the blow after a difficult start of the 2022 season, adding, "Maybe a bit, but there are more blows that we are ending up 30 seconds behind the leader, and that is the gap we need to catch up," finished Wolff. Mercedes have brought multiple engine upgrades throughout the 2022 season, as the most evident one was in Silverstone. This is when Mercedes was truly in shape to win the first race of the season, but their biggest concern was that they couldn't understand how the car behaves. That is why Mercedes hopes to understand the car better in the remainder of the season and hopes to strike the P2 finish in both championships, something that seemed like a far-fetched goal at the beginning of the season. Nevertheless, we've seen Hamilton and Russell constantly beating Perez in the last few outings, with the exception of Spa, and we've seen them in a regular battle with Sainz and Leclerc. So if we do have a proper fight for the championship, and if we don't forget the fact that Mercedes is bringing an upgrade to their engine in Singapore, rest assured that it will be a fierce battle on track. What's not so optimistic for Mercedes is that both of its drivers gave an assessment of the chances that the team has when it comes to winning the Singapore GP, being skeptical about it. Hamilton was the first one who talked about this, adding, "We have to be realistic. That Red Bull is almost unbeatable. It's going to take some real doing to beat that car. Performance-wise, they are fully ahead of everyone. We haven't caught them and we don't have upgrades coming to overtake them, so it's going to take some fortune going our way. Not impossible, because we could potentially have beaten them in Zandvoort, maybe could have beaten them in Budapest," finished Hamilton. The same mentality prevailed in Russell as he downbeat over Singapore bumps, adding, "I think on paper Singapore should suit our car, but when we look back at the street circuits of Monza and Azerbaijan, our car doesn't fare too well over the bumps. We're not sure how it will fall out, but we need to keep on pushing, keep on improving the car, and I'm pleased that we've got a clear direction we need to go now," finished Russell. With that being said, it's all to play for Mercedes during the Singapore GP. It's evident that the team is pushing for the first win, and we truly hope that we'll witness it in the next GP, which is due in 2 weeks. What do you think about Mercedes' upgrades? Think they have what it takes when it comes to beating the top 2 teams in a fair and square race just once this season? Let us know in the comments below.